Hi, everyone. Today we are going to discuss the datasets around the patenting landscape of the telecommunication sector. Particularly, we'll be touch basing on Foxconn, and I would be touch basing on my analysis, my own particular analysis of how the things are going to pan out in this quarter. So, I mean, in every company or every sector, they have different quarters. India generally, again, if we go by Jan to April, that is one quarter, but different companies, different entities, they have their own quarter way of doing things. So I'll just focus for the month of July and going to talk about it. And I'm going to talk about few of the patenting landscape and how China is maneuvering everything just to combat the uh, current situation, because this particular situation which India is in right now, India is in a primordial soup in terms of the understanding of the global landscape. Why I say so? Because most of the people who were supposed to even look into the factorial stuff of the diplomatic relationships, they were more from the point of view very silent, and particularly silent from the year 2016. But most of the folks had the knowledge that the patents were initiated, or all these patent applications were filed somewhere from the year maybe from 2002 to 2008. Long story short, a good number of patent application for the generative stuff was drafted, and particularly I drafted, I mean, 1,000 plus patents. And now those particular applications are part of the, I would say, essential patents, in terms of, it has to be there, it has to be deployed, otherwise the devices cannot work. Whether you make the device in India, whether you are, getting the components from the other countries, because for the longest time, uh, the cost of the device is low only when the basic components are being retrieved or being purchased on a bulk order. Now, how bulk the order can be is the question I think the framework people need to answer. Now, the good thing about the way China has been working, not only from today, but from the time immemorial, in terms of, I would also say 1999, because I myself handled the trademark applications of the Chinese companies when, I mean, there was nobody to even understand how international trademarks are filed in India. And again, I'm going back to the time of 2006 till 2011, 2012. And after that, obviously, because of the price issues, we are in the capital of India, so obviously we cannot go down after a certain price limit. But the shops, the online KPOs and everything, the shops based out in south of India, they just reduced it like one tenth the cost just to get the client. And of course we cannot compete with such kind of individuals or enterprises, because it's more of a work from home culture for those guys. Anyhow, so Apple India iPhone 17 plus plus. Now the thing is, one is the button application. So China, for the longest time, they understood that even if the best of their minds are being deployed in any country, they know if the technical know-how or any kind of know-how is taken by the peers, then someday they're going to become redundant. This is what I have been talking about for the longest time in terms of the trade secrets and stuff. Even you go to the best of the patent applications, maybe the patent application is a very detailed application, but nobody is going to talk about how the best way of performance is done. I mean, that is a posita, USPTO, people know it very well. But India lacks in that understanding in terms of, firstly, is the drafting. I mean, there have been so many patent attorneys based out in US who contacted me, had calls, and they said, hey, pretty, I don't understand who wrote these applications in the first place. So all these, universities and everyone, they go with the cheapest one. So cheapest vendor is their, guru mantra. And obviously, then even if there is iota of, application of that particular innovation, it loses value, because first of all, the writing style is very different. I don't understand even the best of the minds. The point of contention is the best of the minds who have studied from best of the colleges. I somehow got some data sets, and I saw their writing and everything. I was like surprised, like how can they even write this language in terms of the spell check? So then I realized that input data itself is so screwed up. So these Chinese stuff are going back to China. So this is one point. But what is China planning? Let's talk about that and how China and US are going to dominate everything in few of the news channels or media houses. You will see that they're not even aware about where to fetch the data sets. But what I can talk about today is, so the neighboring places of India is Sri Lanka, which is very strongly based in the telecom sector. We have the Lotus Tower, which is already ready, and China has deployed it. So much money has been invested. So that is like, that particular bridge is very, very strong. And at the same point of time, Trump is like against Elon Musk, and probably the way Elon is contemplating stuff, he might be, just the point of contention here is US always have been a place where dreams come true. That is how it has been. The propaganda always has been like that. But there is a melting point for any country or for any minister for that matter. And why I can say so, because I have been studying the international policies and the politics not from today, but I would rather say from a very early age. But particularly, I went deep into it since 2015 because I knew that I want to be part of this ethos. And that is one reason when China had called upon me, I was the first one to just like, just go for it. Now, the point of contention here is we have Bangladesh, which is going through a roller coaster ride, but that ride is just a phase because few of the entities who were supposed to report that and take those decisions, they just kept everything to themselves, and that's one reason why Bangladesh is going through a turmoil. However, the point of contention here is there's a place in Bangladesh called as Cox Bazar, and the place itself, the Cox Bazar itself, near Cox Bazar, we have this place called as St. Martin's, and US already is building its territory there. So the point of contention here is a part of the US is going to be um, it's going to be underwater because of the the global scenario. So US is already contemplating and putting its path very clearly in Bangladesh through this place called St. Martin's, which is near Cox Bazar. And then during the era of you have to go to, okay, so this Bangladesh is nearby Myanmar, which is Burma, and US has invested a lot of taxpayers money building the road and everything to connect the places and stuff. So the way I am contemplating right now, we are in the year 2025. So probably with, obviously, Burma has its military rule and it has its own, I would say, its own sweet spot and the good spot. But obviously the point of contention is quid pro quo. That is, something has to be given in terms of in the real time there has to be some kind of exchange, and I'm pretty sure that that exchange is happening right now, and this exchange is not happening from now. This exchange, I would say, was at least the understanding came into the year 2018 or probably 2017. I was part of the China group where we went and we were having this discussion, understood how the online world is working and how it should work so that you be a good actor in the online world. That is very, very important. So even the intellectual people who are called intellectual, who are wearing the intellectual hat, are part of the dark web. That's very, very clear from the data sets. So whatever is happening, Foxconn going back to their own places, Japan is creating the zero emission stuff. This is going to hamper Elon's whatever manifestation or whatever he's trying to achieve, because there is one power, but at the other end of the power are the main stakeholders, the main operators are who want the world to be united. That is very, very important. You cannot be working in silos because United Nation is one big family. So India perhaps has to start understanding the importance of intellectual property rights. Just filing intellectual property rights and getting the patent grants and most of the patent application, wherever the word communication is there or any kind of communication network, those applications should never be granted in the first place under Section 3K. Now the point of contention here is, should we file a patent claiming or overcoming section 3K? That is not even the answer. Just use it as a marketing tool. File your first application in India if anything else has been done. So I would say a good example would be GE. So one can look into that. And the way GE has been built up, that is, I wouldn't say it's the best model, but one of the models one can always look into and see how they have overcome everything, use the Indian resources, and build their own empire. So the point of contention here is, India has to be diligent in terms of what they're giving up, in terms of the research analysis, in terms of the data sets. So those are the questions the stakeholders in India would have to answer. Intellectual property rights, again, has been screwed up to a brim where, one cannot even dissect between the colors or the hues of black and white. It's not even gray. It's like a black hole where if you go through the data, you will realize that, every second number has been misused. Like I'll talk about something. So there's one article written by some the 100 lawyers to be followed on LinkedIn. I was like surprised when that article was published. Now the point of contention here is why that article was published at the first place. I was trying to answer this question for the longest time. Then I realized, okay, they have selected those 100 people and they're using it to build their own kind of, blockchain or whatever, because anything and everything is data. And the point of contention here is, people who know real coding should decode that. And just because that, again, the whole 100 list of lawyers to be followed on LinkedIn should be zero. The easiest thing to do is, make it null and void. Null and void is the best thing. Make it dead in terms of that particular data set has no value in any kind of valuation. That is one way of, dissecting the data sets into being a data which can be utilized to solve a problem. Because at the end of the day, we have to solve the problem. We have to combat the current menace, plastic pollution. Like right now, the most important thing is, or the factor is, to look into the plastic pollution, because that is causing itself a lot of diseases, because free radicals are formed in the water and people are drinking that water, the plastic water, bottled waters. Nobody knows for how long it was in the sun. And those free radicals, it has its own problems. There's no good way of even recycling it. And sustainability of mind, again, has been miscrewed to the level where, it's so difficult to understand anything. So thank you for watching out the video. I think I have given few data sets so that people can work on it for the next couple of days and see for the next 20 days if they can undo the current menace. Thank you for watching out the video. Have a great day.